My name is Lee Buck. I'm running for seat 6 in District 3. And often, in fact, one businessman asked me the question. He said, "Lee, why are you running? Why don't you just enjoy the roses?" And I responded to him very easily. I said, in my entire life, I put God, family, and servanthood first. And so with that, I've done 2 mission trips to third world countries. I've served on TPC. I've been on the board of Junior Achievement, United Way, teacher in my Sunday school class. I'm a leadership in my church. And with that, I'm going to move on to fiscal management. I was on city council when our beach city went through maybe the greatest depression since the Great Depression, and that was necessitated a 22% cut in our budget, operating budget, 8.4% in our employees. It ended up in lots of vacant desks, and that was very painful. And yet, I have to balance my budget, and it absolutely drives me crazy that our federal government doesn't understand that they have to balance their budget as well. And it is just destroying my kids and my grandkids. The third thing I'd like to discuss briefly is community development. I don't know if any of you have ever been around the beach, but in the late 70s, early 80s, we were all boarded up. And being boarded up, we formed what they call the Community Redevelopment Agency. And the objective of that agency was to improve the quality of living and make it a walkable community. In the 1980s, we emphasized the continuance of that. And 35 years later, we made a lot of progress, but we've got a long way to go. And we've got streetscape, it's beautification of 3rd Street, but we're now working on what we call the hospitality center. I guess we're always going to have the 10 to 2 group, but what we're working for now is an all group community so that all people will feel welcome at our beaches. And the reason I'm running is I feel like with my corporate and my real estate experience that I'm capable of achieving those objectives and those goals. And I thank you for that opportunity to present that.
What are the principles that you are running on?
The principles that I'm running on are, I covered 1, fiscal management. I covered community building, business growth. It's hard to believe, but at Jacksonville Beach, as we've gone through this process, the business and the citizens at times have been at odds with each other. And business building is a priority. We've got to do that. Another one is public safety. We've gone, since 2006, we've gone from 2 police officers in our downtown area to 9. That's how, we go from a population of 22,000 to 62 or 100,000 people. And it's required us to, and I'm going to give one quick example. We're 22,000 people before all these people come down. Lake City is also 22,000 people. Would you believe that Lake City, we have 65 police officers. Lake City has 21 or 2 police officers. And that's due to we live in a metropolitan area where all these people come to our beach. And they're welcome to it. But it is a burden to control. The final item is parking. That's been a real thorn in my side. I don't feel like we've done a good job for business. People park in front of business and they stay there all day and go to the beach. We've simply got to, I don't care what well, I do care what the cost is, because as long as we have a balanced budget. But we've got to give our businesses 2-hour parking where people can't stay there all day long and ruin our businesses.
What ideas do you have to reduce Jacksonville Beach government spending?
That's a difficult question because we've already reduced it by 22% and our employees by 8.4%. And our budgetary process, I'm not evading a question, but our budgetary process begins in August. And I was part of that budget process in my prior life when I was on city council. But until the city manager presents an entire budget by all the department heads, then it's our job as city council people to go line by line through that budget and see where we can cut and see where we can improve our overall community. So again, I'm not evading the question, but until I sit in, hopefully as an elected, well, this budget I'll sit in and will not be an elected official, but I will sit in August and I will make my views known at that time.
What infrastructure planning should be done in improving large developments such as those in South Jacksonville Beach surrounding Butler Boulevard?
That's one of the items that the question surprised me, I suppose, just a little bit, because the builder putting in that development of about 50 or so houses is doing all of the infrastructure. They are paying for all of the infrastructure. Now, that went through a number of sessions of meetings with the citizens, and including the Department of Transportation, because we felt like there might be the need for a red light or some other access, from that community. But the Department of Transportation said that if we put entrances at certain spots, that it would not interfere with our traffic flow. Another one is Avalon, which maybe you haven't heard of, but in 2012, we put in $900,000 of infrastructure. The city of Jacks Beach did. We're in 2014. Those are $500,000 and $700,000 houses. We have already been repaid the entire $900,000.
What ideas do you have to reduce crime in Jacksonville Beach?
That's a really good question. We've increased our officers from 2 to 9 downtown, but I think the real, and this was a meeting that I spoke at last night at City Council. We had a development that wanted to put in a surfer bar, but the surfer bar was going to be truly a bar, and on that, I did not feel the comfort level of having a bar with over 5,000 square feet when we've already added 9 officers, and this would be within 190 feet of another bar. So what we've got to do to reduce crime is increase our retail, increase our coffee shops, our candy, our ice cream, and we've got to make it a community for all age groups. Until we do that, we're always going to have the 10 to 2 crowd, but we've got to develop the beach for the rest of our citizens.
The Human Rights Ordinance, also known as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and or LGBT ordinance, is going through the final process and Atlantic Beach. What is your position for Jacksonville Beach?
I would answer that this way, and because I follow all of those, and we don't discriminate against gender, sexual orientation. When I was on city council, that was a real priority, that all people are created equal, and all people, we cannot discriminate against people having the opportunity to gain employment at the city of Jacksonville Beach. That's just a no-no.
How do you plan to work with constituents, and how will you keep them informed?
I was in the corporate world for a number of years and a regional vice president over 13 states. And I've been a realtor now. My dad was a realtor, and I finally followed his footsteps. But one thing I learned from my dad, from teaching Sunday school, from church, from business, is communicate, communicate, communicate. And I'm a firm believer in being a good listener, and that's not easy to do sometimes, but you've got to be a good listener. And to do that, you've got to hold workshops, you've got to greet the citizens, we've got to give them their say, and then we've got to listen to what they say, because I find just walking the community, they're smarter than I am many, many times. And so anyway, I think the whole key to keeping the constituents informed is through good workshops, and never being, we hear the word trans, that I forget that famous word that one of our leading people of our country uses, but anyway, we must be transparent, and not just talk about being transparent, but truly be transparent.
Would you like to make a closing comment?
Yes, I would. One thing that I've been on city council, and I've been off city council, and I'm a firm believer in term limits. But I firmly believe that, having been off now, that I've had a chance to sit back, see what we accomplished while I was on there. And our family moved to the beaches in the mid-1930s. I want to continue what my father started, what our family has started. My grandkids are fourth generation at Fletcher High School. It's very important to me to see that this city welcomes people and is safe and a thriving community for all people.